Dating 101. When I've talked to guys about this topic of asking girls out, I can't tell you the number of guys who ask me things like, well, what do I say? With my words. Stuff. Like, okay. First off, I want to be very clear about this. Those words that you use to ask a girl out should not be typed or keyed in any way. Okay? This, I would recommend that if at all possible, you ask that girl out in person, face to face. It is much easier and takes much less courage to text a girl, hey, you want to go out for coffee? And it also might be confusing to her, what does he mean by this? Where is he going with this? And I don't want to have you guys put that on anyone. All right? So it needs to be in person. If it's not in person, please go ahead and use the phone. All right? If you guys notice, those devices you carry around with you also make calls. This is actually, they have that ability. So feel free to use that if you just never see her on campus because your schedules are opposite or whatever. So feel free to use that, but must be in person. The first few dates, what would they look like? I refer to them typically as get-to-know-you dates. I believe Father Morrow referred to them as like friendship dating. Kerry Cronin refers to them as level 1. And she talks about them being reconnaissance, which I love because it's somewhat of a side. All right, I'm going to gather information. All right, I'm going to find out details about you. And I'm going to tell you things about me. It seems like a pretty good start to a friendship, no matter what happens later on down the road. So, dating 101 then would start with these first level dates. I usually say around 3 to 5 dates are going to be level 1. All right? That's a shorter period of time in those dates. I'm going to use this as a maximum. Please follow this. Please follow this. 90 minutes. Do not go over 90 minutes. All right? I know from personal experience that perhaps you think, oh, this is going so well. You know what? 90 minutes is just kind of a general guideline, which it is. I'm just going to go like 15 more minutes. That 15 minutes comes and goes. And then you think, I don't know how to end this without being a jerk. Well, want to go? How do I stop the date? And then the date keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going. And if you're like one of my friends a couple of years ago, it goes for 4 hours on the first date. If you have to go refill your coffee, it's probably a good sign that you should have already ended it. Okay? So 90 minutes as the maximum. It should be intentional, i.e. it should not be in a group setting. Okay? It should be in a one-on-one setting where you're going to get to know them and your interest is on her. All right? So involved in that as well, don't just sit there and rattle on about yourself. All right? That's not your goal. Remember, your goal is to find out things about her. So ask her questions. Carry on conversation. Dive a little bit deeper. Oh, so one time my sister was in gymnastics. She tried to do a flip, landed on her head, and was in a halo for 6 months. Wow. What's your sister's name? Oh. Would you have any other siblings? Oh. Did you do gymnastics, or was that just like her thing? Okay, like those types of conversations, you can continue to build off of it. Those are good things, all right? It should be close to campus. If it's 90 minutes, you don't want to go far away, all right? This is not let's go into Pittsburgh, and I'll show you around this place for the next 4 hours, because it's 45 minutes each way, literally 90 minutes. All you can do is drive there and drive back, okay? I hope you have an awesome playlist for the car, because that's all you're getting, okay? So not a good idea. I don't care if you find a short movie, all right? That does not work for the first get-to-know-you type dates, because you shouldn't be talking in a movie for the most part. So don't go to a movie on these first dates. It has to be something where you can talk. I typically recommend coffee, or something I personally love is ice cream. ice cream melts, it gives you there's a certain time table there that ice cream's gone. All right, this is good. So, and it gives you kind of a real easy out when it comes to that. Basically, you're trying to gather information to find out, would I be interested in going further with this person? Would I be interested in a relationship with them? And you have 3 to 5 or so dates to do that. Real quick disclaimer though. If you find out after the second date, I really don't see myself being in a relationship with this person, don't ask them out again. Okay? If after the third date you realize, no, not really, I'm never going to really be interested in this person romantically, but it was kind of fun, so I'll just do it again. Don't ask them out again. All right? When you ask them out again, that is showing them intentionality of, yes, I do see myself being able to pursue something romantically with this person. So if you don't, stop. Okay? It should take place during the day, and it should have very limited physical contact. All right? Yes, you've got it down. A hug at the end of the date is permissible, but perhaps you should know her a little bit and maybe know whether or not, is she a super huggy person or whatever. And if it is, it isn't one of these let me just embrace you for 45 seconds. Not one of those types of hugs. All right? It's one of these things, where it's kind of you lean in, all right, you give a quick hug, and you go. All right? That is fine. Limited physical contact during those first few dates, for sure. So what words to use then? How to ask her out? I usually like to use something like, hi. If you know the person, you can just say something like, hey, I think you're a really interesting person. I'd like to get to know you more. I was wondering if you'd like to go on a date, maybe get some coffee or something. That's it. It was one sentence. There were a couple of commas, but it was one sentence. Okay, and that was pretty easy and not terribly hard. Right then, set the time and day. Okay, and don't pull out your phone and be like, well, I'm looking at my schedule here, and how are you in late February? You getting free around that? All right, don't schedule something too far in advance. I would typically say within a week, okay? Ideally, within a few days. All right? You should definitely give the girl a couple of days. You shouldn't be like, hey, you want to go out tonight? All right? Or do you want to go out tomorrow? Even might be a little quick. But I usually like to give at least a couple of days as a buffer that I think is good to do. It allows her to catch up on any homework or anything like that she might have outside of you. Also, this is my own rule. This is not something bigger than me, but you call her the day before and just confirm the date. You call her, not text. You call her. And so she hears your voice. And you say, hey, I'm just confirming that you're still, good to go tomorrow at, 4 p.m. to go down to Sandella's and get some coffee. And it just shows that you're thinking about her and that you care about her. All right? It's a good thing to do. Also, it gives her an opportunity to not have to make that phone call to you if something did come up. Okay? So that puts the burden on you and doesn't put the burden on her to make those types of things, which I think is a good thing. So it's in person, you're doing it, you're calling her the day before, so no texting, no Facebooking, anything like that to ask them out. So, you're on the date. We already talked about that a little bit, different conversation topics and things like that. One other key aspect, though, if you're going somewhere where you're going to be purchasing something, the rule is, if you ask, you pay. Okay? So keep that in mind. All right? If you think like, oh, I'm going to go to the Overlook restaurant, I think, with her for first date, I think that'll be really nice. You pay. All right? That's a little more expensive. All right? If you take her, down to Sandella's for coffee, what's the max you're paying for her? Like $4? You can put it on points. You don't even have to use cash. All right? So that would be a very convenient thing for you to be able to do. Dates don't have to be expensive. Please keep that in mind. Also with dates, someone asked me this the other night, so I'll bring it up. Someone asked, do they need to continue to increase in price as they go? So if I took you to coffee on the first date, which was $2.39 each, Then do I have to, and I take you for dessert on the second date, which came to $6.72. Then do I need to continue to escalate and pay more for you each time? No. I would say no, you don't. However, as those dates continue, I think the care and the time that you put into planning that date should increase. All right? Do something fun. Be creative with it. All right? Maybe not on the very first date because you might freak her out. But on the third or fourth date, something like that, you can get a little bit more creative and do something maybe just a little bit more spontaneous that shows her that you're putting time into thinking about this and that you do care. How to end the date. This is the ever so important part for that 90-minute rule. Something very simple like, hey, this has been really nice. You want to head back up to, campus or whatever if you're at Sandelis? Just wherever she came from, if you're walking her back to her hall or if you're walking her back to Egan or wherever. If one of you has class as well, that can be a great breaker. Like, hey, I have class coming up, so I've got to go. But, and then this is where, if it went well, you can say something like, but I had a really great time. Would you like to do this again sometime? And if she says no, that's okay. But if she says yes, then I usually say, okay, I'll call you sometime this week and we'll set it up. The key to that line, though, is that you have to call her sometime that week. I will hear about it if you don't. I will find you. Right? It is not okay to do that to someone. All right? Especially if you tell them, like, hey, wait for my call, and it never comes. That is a jerk move. Don't be that guy. All right? So if you tell her you're going to call, make sure you call. If things didn't go that well, it's okay. All right? Kerry Cronin talks about this as letting someone down with dignity. Okay? You don't need to say like, well, that was super awkward, so not doing that again. Have a good one. You don't need to do something like that. Okay? You can just say, and this could be after the first, second, third date, whatever. You can just say, this isn't really, doing it for me. Like, I'm just not seeing you in a romantic way. I see this as more of a friendship thing, and I see it progressing more that way. But thank you for agreeing to go out with me on these dates. That's great. All right? That's wonderful. And that's clean and not super messy. All right? And so hopefully that will go well like that. Real quick, I have one other thing, and then we'll close up. Level 2. So you've gone through, and I'm not going to go into this in great detail, but there's one line in particular that I want to make sure you hear. Level 2. So you've gone 3 to 5. Okay? At this point, each of you know that the other one is interested, or they wouldn't have gone on those 3 to 5 dates with you. All right? So I know Kyle put this in the principles. The idea that you can approach her and ask her, would you like to be exclusive? All right? Just you two. So level 2 dating is exclusive. But it is not exclusive from everything else in your life. All right? You do not just hang out with her now. I thought he did a wonderful job, so I'm going to continue to quote him. But Father Morrow mentioned maybe you hang out together 2, maybe 3 times a week for short periods of time. Okay, I know that's kind of mind-blowing for this campus, but you don't spend every waking minute with them. And that's not the way that it should be. You shouldn't spend all of your time with this person. Okay? And because of that, they are not the most important thing in your life at this point. All right? I feel like many people here tend to skip this level 2, and this next line is the one that I really want you to hear. In level 2 dating, each person is responsible for his or her own feelings. You do not take upon yourself the burden of the other person's heart in level 2. Okay, that is level 3 dating. My guess is I'll give a talk on that probably within a couple weeks in Francis, if you'd like to come. But level 3, for an example, I usually give is those people are talking about marriage. All right? They're thinking about getting engaged, or maybe they are engaged. Okay? And then you begin to take upon the other person. So you're not going to share with that other person, even in level 2 dating, everything about your past. You're probably not going to share with them all of your sins, all of your transgressions, all the things that you fall with. You do not share that with them. Okay? Because that is not their responsibility at this point. Does that make sense? Okay. Good. All right. So, for now then, we'll make a shift. And Courtney is going to come down and speak to you guys a little bit about the woman.
I just wanted to speak from the heart of a woman for a moment. And just to encourage you, because in our nature, a woman's heart, we desire to be pursued. That's what we long for. Ultimately, the Lord satisfies that. But in very tangible ways, the women on this campus, whether they're at a place where they're in touch with that desire or not, I wasn't as much in touch with it when I was a freshman here in this campus, but we desire to be pursued. And how you pursue us has the opportunity to put us in touch with the love of the Lord. Okay, so thank you. Thank you. And I just wanted to encourage you and thank Matthew for his words. And as he was talking, I was just thinking, man, like from a woman's perspective, if men were doing this more in my life and following these steps more, like there'd be a lot less heartbreak and a lot less hurt, just even on the side of the heart of a woman, because we need clarity. We need clarity. And so on the women's end, we're going to work on things like household sisters, don't freak out at a first date for one of your household sisters, okay? Because a date is not an engagement, you know? And even the difference between, even in level 2, we're not sharing all of our hearts. And just so you know, men, like, we need you to protect us. And we need you to guard us. As women, we are vulnerable through what we share emotionally. That's vulnerability to us. And so that 90 minutes is key. Because as a woman, if I like you, I could talk to you for 4 hours about my past and about my family, and here's what I hope for, and here's what I long for. And that's how we are vulnerable. So I just wanted to thank you in advance for fighting for us. You know, one of the guys was asking a question. So really, like, with a date, like, I can ask a couple girls out on a date, you know, in the month of November. And not just the month of November, right? We're trying to change a culture here. And yes, I think that's great, but I also just wanted to remind you that as women, in our desire to be pursued, I just ask that you be genuine. And so I just want to challenge you in that, to be genuine, to be clear, just like Matthew was saying, and to thank you for guarding us and for protecting us and for having the courage to be intentional. Amen? Thanks.